Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Rosalie, and we are going to be discussing what books I've read during July 2021 up until this point, which is now 2022. So, starting with, June. We're starting with June. On June 4th, I read about 2 books. One of them was Jill Chavez, and the next one was Sally Thorne. Because the first one by Jill Chavez I read Playing for Keeps, was basically like a romance between this tattoo shop guy. He did like I don't remember this because this was a while ago, but it was like a tattoo guy and I think a girl, and they were co-parenting a dog that they found, like literally right by the shop. That one I read in one sitting, and it was 4 stars for me. But thinking back on it, I think it would probably be a little bit less, maybe like 3.5 maybe. And then the next one is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I read that one in 3 sittings, and it was a 4-star book for me personally. I just reread it recently, so hopefully I can give you like a better rundown of the story. So basically there's this work romance between a guy named Josh and Lucy, and a girl named Lucy. And basically they are competing for the same job, and then eventually it becomes more, because they literally hate each other. So it is an enemies to lovers relationship, but eventually they start to actually like each other and progress feelings. But it also falls under the trope was like, I've always liked you, because the boy liked her first from the first day that they actually met. So there's that. And then on June 5th, I read The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I gave that one a 3 stars, and basically it's about this girl, what was her name? Crap, I can't remember the name. Hold on. I'm probably gonna have to start looking up the names. Olive's sister and this one dude were getting married, right? But literally everybody got sick at the wedding. They couldn't go to like their honeymoon or whatever. So the sister said, hey, this is a unrefundable trip. Can you please go for us so it's not like a waste of a trip? So her and the groom's best friend, they leave and they go to this tropical place. I want to say it was Hawaii, but I'm completely not sure. It was enemies to lovers, and then they got there and they ended up falling in love, and it was really good overall. But it was a 3 stars for me because the first half was good. The first half was great. But then all of a sudden, like, they got home, the plot changed. It was weird. It was a good book, the first half. But the second half was, like, completely different. On the same day, I read Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I absolutely loved that one. It is a age gap relationship between Pike Lawson, we love him in this channel, and a Jordan and Jordan. Jordan dates Pike's son, but then it ended up finding out that the son cheated on her, and so Pike was basically trying to apologize for him. He was very pissed off at his son too. He was very mad because he thought Jordan was good for him, and it was like a lot. And she eventually like left the house, but she came back. But it was like they started to grow feelings for each other. And of course, this is Penelope Douglas, so like the book was also like very like smutty, very smutty. I thought it was good though. Like, there was plot, the relationship was good. Some people would feel uncomfortable with that age gap crap. Nope, I'm not. Anyways, Be the Girl by K.A. Tucker. When I wrote this down, I put it at 4 stars, but I think it would be 3 stars now that I think about it. It's basically about this girl who moved, and she's all kind of like mysterious because she doesn't want to hide. She wants to hide like her past and stuff. Her name is Arya, but she moved, and eventually she meets like this little girl, Cassie, who has autism, and she's like autistic, and she eventually starts hanging out with her because like she's trying to be nice. And then eventually her brother comes, Cassie's brother comes into the picture, Emmett, and he's like this popular dude in high school, obviously, that trope. I liked him though, he was nice. Eventually it leads to like a relationship, but suddenly like this girl's secret gets out and it's all hectic all over, right? So you'll have to read to find out what that secret is. Next book, Whatever Life Throws at You, Julie Cross. Now this was a reread because I read this book in middle school, which I probably shouldn't have, but this book I definitely give 4.2 stars maybe, because it was definitely good, but I wasn't like jumping for joy at it. It's between this baseball player, correct? Yep. Baseball player that is just getting on like the scene. He's just becoming popular. And Jason is like this ladies' man, correct? And Annie, she just moved to Kansas City because her dad is the coach for that baseball team. Now, they eventually are like, they meet in a very awkward situation. He's in the locker room. She pretends to interview him until the dad comes up and he's like, Annie, what are you doing? And he's like, Meep, I'm sorry. And that's how they meet. And it's really, it was just a cute relationship. It was really cute. But I'm probably biased because that's probably my middle school self saying that. But overall, now that I think about it, it was probably like a, yeah, beginning near 4-star read. Bad and Dirty, the duet by LP Lovell and Stevie J. Cole. That is like some mafia romance type stuff. It was really good. I loved it personally. I gave it 5 stars. It was all I could talk about. Okay, so first of all, the one guy in the series is named Rowan, something like that. I don't think it was Rowan. I think that was Rena Ken's book. Okay, so there's this girl named Camila. Ronan, I'm close. I was close. Ronan is this dude. So Camila she's the daughter of like this cartel leader, and all of a sudden like she gets kidnapped by this guy named Ronan, correct? I'm not sure if I'm right about that, but and eventually they just try to get on each other's nerves because he kidnapped her, and she's just like, she is badass. She is amazing. I loved Camila. She is like amazing. Like, she's fierce, but she can also be like sweet when she needs to be. But most of the time she's just all out there, fierce, I will kick your ass energy, and it's amazing. Literally, I would definitely recommend checking the trigger warnings. This book does include a lot of like kinky stuff, but it's like a dark kind of kinky, like blood play, gunplay. It was banned from Amazon pretty much, so you'd have to find it somewhere else to buy it. But it's completely hilarious. That was the sole reason I read this book too. I heard it was banned from Amazon and I was like, okay, time to read this, see how bad it really is. And oh no, honey, it was amazing. I loved that. The next book, Penelope Douglas, credits. Now, I put this on here as 5 stars, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's not even that good. So, it's basically this girl, her parents passed away, correct? I don't know why I'm asking you. I'm the one that wrote the book. And it's not like you can talk back to me anyway, so excuse me. Tiernan. It's about this girl named Tiernan. She's the daughter of a film producer and a popular wife, but eventually they commit suicide and she is shipped off to live with her step-uncle. Her father's stepbrothers, so stepbrother. So step-uncle, pretty much. And Noah and Caleb, which are his sons. And eventually they try to get to know her, but Caleb is standoffish and Noah is just happy to be there. He seems like a dick. He's a dick to the dad anyways, to the step-uncle or whatever. Yeah, he's a dick to him, but he's nice to Tiernan and it's like really cute. But they take her under the wing, they teach her how to work. They teach her how to survive in the woods because they live in the woods and in a place where nobody will quite literally find them. But like then again, now it's just a relationship between all 3 of them. Well, not really all 3 of them intertwining. It's just like age gap between the dad and her and the step-uncle. I'm sorry. The Noah and Caleb's dad, her step-uncle. Her step-uncle, they start seeing each other, right? Because they start feeling mutual attraction, you know? And then it's kind of weird because, like, she also likes his sons, and it's like, what is this? There was one scene in there. We're gonna call that the couch scene. Absolute butterflies. Loved it. But loved the dad as a character. Loved the step-uncle as a character. But Caleb, for me, that's where we're at. Because Caleb was amazing. I've read that most of the people don't like Caleb. They are either in the step-uncle's direction or Noah's direction, and I'm just like, because Caleb's one of those types to quiet. He's very quiet. He doesn't talk to anybody. He's a mute. Yeah, he don't speak. And it's tragic backstory. I'm not gonna get into that. You're gonna have to read for yourself to find out. But it was really sad, and I really do feel bad for him. Okay, before I get off track with credits, it was okay. Very good scenes, some of them. Good character with the 2. Noah, I don't like happy people. But, yeah, I like very traumatized people, and it's not okay, but it's where my direction leads when it comes to books and like anime characters. Okay, Lauren Asher, the Dirtier series. I've read all of them, absolutely love them. I'm actually rereading the books now. I'm on the first one. So for the first book, I gave the first 2 books 3.8 stars. Both of them absolutely was okay with. not in love with them, but I liked them. Noah Slade is a Noah Slade for the first book is a F1 race car driver, and the girl is named Maya, and her brother races on the team that Noah Slade is in as well. And him and the brother, Noah Slade, and Santiago is the brother's name, they have a very rival relationship. So Maya, like, is insulted by Noah Slade, and Noah Slade basically calls her a side piece for her brother before he actually met her, and of course she got pissed off. She called him names, and and the brother was very pissed off, and Noah Slade eventually comes back, apologizes, and he said, hey, look, I'm sorry, I haven't been on my best game. Listen, he is a man whore. But as the book soon progresses, you will see he is not all he seems to be, and he's doing it for a reason, and it's like very sad, actually. The next book in the series, Collided, is a Liam and Chloe, which is also on the same team, I believe. Yeah, they're F1. I'm not sure, but I want to say they're on the same team, but I haven't gotten to that second book, so I'm just going to quickly research this, because I know it was, so basically, Sophie Mitchell is a, I'm sorry, Liam and Sophie. Okay, I was correct on the Liam. Liam is a German racer on the F1 team, and he basically meets this girl, Sophie. Sophie is the best friend of Maya that we meet in the first book. She is bubbly, adorable, and she eventually creates a list of naughty bucket list items that she wants to do while she's there watching the races. So eventually, she's a part of like a rival team. Knows someone on the team. I don't remember exactly. But her dad runs one of the teams. Correct. And eventually they meet and they're like, hey, let's complete this bucket list together. Let's complete Sophie's bucket list. And eventually he goes and does all these things for her while they're getting the list done. And some of it's like risque stuff, some of it's okay. But there was definitely some cute moments in there. It was not my favorite book, but I liked it. The next book, Wrecked, with Jax Kingston and Elena. Jax Kingston. I love him so much. So Jax Kingston, he has a alcohol addiction to that, pills, basically anything. Like when you're a celebrity, basically, it's very hard to get through like travel and paparazzi and stuff without feeling the pressure. That's where he gets that. And he also has like family issues going on. And it's really sad, actually, because his mom has like cancer, I think. Don't quote me on that. So he's sitting there waiting, trying to take care of her too with all this money. And eventually he meets Elena, who is also like this traumatized little girl, seeing her parents get shot when she was little. So now she is a PR person. I want to say it's PR. She's a PR person for the Bandini team. I don't think it was Bandini's team. I don't think he was on the same team as Noah, but I don't know. don't quote me on all of them being on the same team, because I don't think they're all on the same team. But yeah. So eventually they meet because he does something stupid in public. Elena has to like help him get his rep back up, because that's her job. And eventually they start like getting closer and closer and closer, until eventually they start like catching feelings, and she goes to meet the mom, and it's like, oh, it's so sad. And I love him so much. I don't know. There's something about a British male with tattoos. He's amazing. Okay, the next one in the series, Redeemed. That one I gave 4.5 stars. Oh, I'm sorry, Jax Kingston, the third book in the series, I gave 5 stars. But this next one, the last book in the series, Redeemed, that was 4.5 books. I read that in 3 sittings. And it's basically Santiago got into an accident, which is Maya's brother. Let's remember that. Maya's brother. And basically after he got injured, he went off. He said, okay, well, I can't race anymore. So he lives in this house literally far away, but at least still close enough to see his sister, right? And then the next thing you know, he's like this quiet person. In the first book, he was very bubbly. He was very like charismatic. But now in this book, he's just gone to loner because of the accident. And so eventually he's just, yeah. So eventually this girl named Chloe, my bad, that's where I got Chloe from. Chloe, she, I wouldn't say breaks into his yard. She climbed a tree, then she dropped her phone in the yard, and then she had to go get the phone. So he found her, and he was like, okay, well, I don't want to see you again, so I need you to leave. And she's like, okay, can I have my phone back? Because he didn't even give the girl her phone back, and I'm just like, oh. Okay, Santi. So, and she has to break into the house to get her phone back, which I don't understand that. Like, can't you just buy another phone? Like, I get it, you might be broke, but can you go get your phone? Like, just buy a new phone. I don't see why you had to break into somebody's house. That's a felony, first of all. I don't think it's worth the trouble, personally. And then eventually, the sister and Maya and Noah show up, and they're just like, they see her in the house, and he's like, hey, Santi, who's this? So basically, Santiago has to lie. And he's just like, oh, she's my they're pretend dating, but oh no, that's my girlfriend, because he wants like the sister off his back. And so like, yeah. So eventually, they have to pretend to fake date, and they're all like always together. So it's forced proximity trope and fake dating, and it's cute because you're watching them like grow accustomed to each other as well. It's just really cute. Okay, the Nikki, Sloan, Nashville neighborhood series. This one, I feel like the first one is the doctor, but it gives me birthday girl vibes, which I described to you in the beginning of this video. It's literally the same plot, except the guy's a doctor. Just less plot. And that one I gave 3 stars. The next one, the pool boy, is a girl, I don't remember the name, hang on. A girl who she's like she writes music for like a living. Well, not a living, I would say. She writes music. She used to be a singer, but there's this kid, her best friend's son, he cleans her pool for her. But she's married at the time to this guy, But apparently the boss is cheating on her with his boss. Her husband is cheating on her with his boss. And she found them. So, yeah, basically the next day she's like, okay, we're gonna get drunk, have some margaritas by the pool. Didn't remember the pool boy was coming, and just completely, like, was, like, out there. Out there. And he found her, and they got into a compromising position. Yeah. And her friend's, like, encouraging it. She doesn't know it's her son that's effing with her. And I'm just like, okay, this is a bit much. I like how I can read Bad and Dirty by LP level, but I can't read this. Because I just don't like the fact it has no plot. I mean, it has a plot, but it's not, like, meaty. Let's say meaty. That's a horrible word for me to use, but there's not a lot of detail. It has a plot, but it's not filled with all of the good stuff. Let's not quote me on that. The Architect. It is a threesome relationship. That's all I gotta say. I loved it. 4.5 stars. The next series I read was the Yale Kennedy Off-Campus series. Love that series. I just reread it like a couple of days ago. I missed it. The Deal is the best book of the series, definitely, though, which is the series beginning. It is the first book of it, which is like Garrett Graham. He is like the hockey player guy, captain. He's the hockey captain, right? And then there's this girl named... Girl, you just read these books. Do you not remember the name? Hannah Wells. He meets Hannah Wells because he failed his midterm, so he has to retake the midterm, and he needs a tutor. And Hannah, she was pretty much one of the few people who actually aced this test, so he asked her for help, and she eventually keeps like telling him no. So he finds a way to get her to agree, and eventually they come closer as like the tutoring comes on. Obviously, a lot of these books are romance, if you can't tell. So yeah, they're probably gonna be a lot of, oh, they finally get closer, and it's like really cute, and yeah. And the next one is The Mistake, Logan and Grace, which they meet when he knocked on a door meaning to go on to like a party, but he accidentally knocked on the wrong door. So he was asking her, hey, is that blah 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 you're watching? And she's like, yeah, I'm very into action movies. And so eventually he stays there and watches a few episodes with her of like a few episodes of the show, and they eventually end up start hanging out more and more to watch like the show and stuff. And then they hang out at the movies, and then they have like good fun times. Eventually they have to break up. Well, they weren't really together, so they break up, but they weren't together. So they broke up, they weren't together. Because they started seeing each other, but he was like, hey, I have feelings for this other girl. And basically he just tells her, I was using you as a distraction, and she's heartbroken. She leaves to go visit her mom because she's so sad. And he eventually goes to the house and he talks to Hannah because he liked his best friend's girlfriend. And he goes to Hannah and he's like, hey, I need some advice, man, because I told her I liked you. But eventually they start talking out, and then he realized it's like, oh, I wanted what you guys had. I didn't want you. I wanted the relationship that came with it. And eventually he figures that out, and then he has to complete a list when she comes back to he has to complete a list of things to do so that she will go on an actual date with him, and it's really cute with his determination and stuff. So he has to do that to gain her affection again, and it was just really cute. The next one is the score. Dean, Kendrick, Sebastian, Kendrick, Hayward, Dean Laurentiis. My bad. He is amazing, amazing, amazing. He is also a man whore, but we love him. And Ali, yes, their relationship. I love their relationship so much. It's so cute. So Dean is the part of the hockey team as well. They're all part of the hockey team. Just keep that in mind. They're all part of the hockey team. Dean is this really cute guy, and he's at his house one night because Ali, she had to text Hannah because she's best friends with Hannah, and she's like, hey, can I stay at your place for a few days? This is what's going on, because she just broke up with her ex, and now he was like, she was scared he was gonna like show up to the dorm. So, and Hannah's just like, sure, go sleep in Garrett's room, just bring your own pillows and stuff. You can hang out there so you don't like have to see him. And anyway, Ali goes and stays over there, but eventually she walks in on Dean doing some stuff, and he hangs out with her for the rest of the night. They ended up sleeping together, but they were like drinking, so that might have progressed it. But yeah, she ended up sleeping with him, and he eventually is just like, after the next morning, she immediately leaves, and he's like, hey, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And she's like, no, I don't think I'm going to. And it was meaningless, and it was like really bad for me because like I just got out of a relationship. I don't think I can do this. I am a relationship type of person. I am not a hookup type of person. And Dean's like, okay, well, how about this? Let's hook up, but we mutually agree that we won't see anybody else. We will only sleep together. We will like work this out. And eventually they just start sleeping together for fun. But eventually that sleeping together for fun becomes something more. But like, also like, it becomes like really sad really quickly and very depressing for like 3 chapters anyway. For like 3 chapters it became really sad because like one of the football players died, and they were friends. He was like really good friends with a football player, so that caused a roadblock. But it was like really sad. Last one, The Goal. I didn't reread that one. Personally, I wasn't a fan of the book. It's like Tucker and Sabrina. Sabrina's like this hot, smart girl, right? She's studying law. Tucker is also on the hockey team, but he's like, he slept with her for fun, and then all of a sudden they have to like start taking care of a kid together because she's pregnant. So they also have to like deal with like, oh, well, how are we gonna do this? Like, we don't even like each other, and I'm having a kid. Like, they used a condom the first time, but then they slept together again, and it was just like, oh, baby. So they had to like navigate through that, and they decided to stay together, but eventually like they like start liking each other while they had a kid. And let me tell you, that kid is just the darndest cutest thing, but like the book was not for me. So yeah, so choose me, Heidi McLaughlin. 10 out of 10, would not recommend. I did not like the first book. I didn't like the second book. I don't know if there's a third one. I stopped reading it after the second book. But I gave that one star. It was just overall horrible. I could not. Rachel Winters would like to meet, gave that one 4 stars, which basically, this girl has to write like a script for a movie. I don't remember her name. So she starts like planning like little meet cutes with this guy because he has to write the script. So she's giving him ideas. Evie has to give ideas for Ezra Chester because he's supposed to write a romance, but he like gave up like midway through and just said F it. So she's like, okay. Well, how about you write the script, but I'll go on like these meet cute dates with people and we can like try to bring up like good ideas for this. He's like, okay, but I'm having writer's block. And I'll only put pen to paper if you can prove to me that you can fall in love like they do in the movies. So she eventually just starts going all these like dates and starts trying to like convince him, okay, this is the way, right? But like during like these tests, she meets this guy named Ben and he has like a kid. They meet at a coffee shop and he's always like there with this kid. And she's like, okay, well, she's talking to the kid and she tells the kid all this, and then she eventually like starts talking to the father, Ben, and it's just like, here is the meet cute. This entire story is a meet cute for her and Ben, and it's just so cute, and it's so cute, and I loved it. But I would probably only give the book like 4 stars realistically, and probably not even that much, like a 3.8 maybe, I don't know. Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Let me tell you, I loved this book. I cried to this book. It was amazing. This book was definitely 5 stars. So basically it's Daisy Jones, but she's like she's like singing, correct? So Daisy Jones is a singer, and basically she has to like, she's like a girl coming of the age in LA in the 60s, but she's like coming into her voice and she starts singing for a living, and by the time she's 20 her voice is getting noticed, and then eventually she gets noticed by a band called the Six. And like she is invited to like sing with them for an album, but on the way like tragic stuff starts happening. It's like definitely have some alcohol abuse, and it's just really hard. But eventually she gets invited to join the band like entirely because like they've noticed like success fully comes out of this band and her together. So this is a fictional history book, but it is amazing and I recommend everyone to read it. It is in a weird format though. It's kind of like dialogue, so it's not really just reading, oh blah 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 blah, went to the coffee shop, well he saw blank blank blank, and there we go. No, it's full on just dialogue. It's like Daisy, he didn't even flip through it, Billy. If Daisy and I were going to write an album together, it just needed to be the 2 of us. So only dialogue, no description. It's very easy to read. I loved it. Read it. I cannot preach how much I love this book. Okay, so before I start getting on a whole rant with that, the Serenade Kiss and Make Up series. Whole series overall was like 3 stars. It's very middle school, I think. It's very middle school. I personally had to like bring myself to read it. I couldn't, after the first book, I was like out of it. The books get better as they go on. There's 3 books. I struggled reading it. Let me be honest. Barbara C. Doyle, Weight in My Heart. I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars. So basically, hang on. My bad. Hate this cover though. Hate it, hate it, hate it. I don't like men on the cover. Basically, there's this girl and she has a cat, right? She's a crazy cat lady because she owns a cat and I don't know. So she has been single for like years, right? And she's done literally nothing except work, and even then she starts liking this guy, but it's kind of like no. So she has this friend at work, and so her brother, this guy, is actually just coming back from the army. At least I think it was the army. I know it was definitely some fight or flight shit. I'm sorry, didn't mean to curse. And he's like bribing her, trying to get her on a date, and it's like, and she doesn't want to because like the friend tried to get them together, but no, he ended up just being a dick that first time. So she told him no. Eventually they start hanging out because he started like buying the cat stuff, and it's like really cute and everything. So that one was like 4.5 stars. You know, I loved it. Until the Last Art Fades. I have that book too. Hang on. Until the Last Star Fades is a Riley Hope Riley Hope is like in college right now. I want to say it was like NYU, and she's dating this guy in the hockey league, but she like, her mom is like really, really sick, and the boyfriend is kind of just like really not helping as much as she would like him to. He is never there. He is just a dick. And then Ben comes into the life of this Riley Hope, and he is British. He is adorable, but he is a actor, and he is in NYC for like an acting gig. But eventually he is just like trying to escape because he is a struggling actor. So he is just trying to like distract himself with like booze, mischief, and he's just like having a lot of sex. But he meets Riley on a bus, and they form a bond between the two. But they don't tell each other about their personal lives, and it's kind of just like, oh well. And eventually, this book made me cry too, and I was like super sad at the end of it. That one, I think, got 4.8 stars, yeah. Maggie Finds Her Muse by D. Hurst. I definitely give that one like 2.5 stars. It was cute, and it was a middle-aged romance between these two 50-year-olds. I thought it was cute, but it was also kind of just like weird because there's this struggling writer, and she goes to Paris, I believe, to like think about her to get away because her boyfriend was a dick, and she comes to Paris to like distract herself, and she meets Ethan. And it's just like, oh, well, you know, they meet, and then they start hanging out, and it was like a realistic middle-aged romance, I think, but definitely wasn't my favorite book. On the Flip Side by James Bailey, 10 out of 10, would never recommend ever again. It was written by male. I am a written men by women type of thing. Yeah, written men by women. And basically this boy flips a coin for every decision he has to make, and eventually he meets this girl, and he decides to follow her to Amsterdam, to Germany, to all these other different places, trying to track her down. Eventually he finds her, but he kind of fucks it up. So, yeah. The Ruthless game series by Cali Rose. Definitely a cute little story. 3 books. Definitely some mafia games type stuff. Overall of the series, it is a polyamorous couple, but with 4 of them. 3 dudes, 1 girl. And basically he gets saved by this one girl, and it's just at a club because he was shot, and she took the bullet for him. She didn't know him at the time, but eventually he just becomes like so obsessed with her that he stalks her, and he makes his friend stalk her, and it's just like but eventually once you get past that, it's just like they all meet, and then they get to know each other, and he makes like the 2 guys watch after her too, so those are like her bodyguards, and it's like super cute. But then again, I'm a weirdo, so that might just be cute to me. I liked him. I gave the first book 3.5 stars, second book 4 stars, Sweet Salvation 4.5 stars. And the next series, Kingdom Duet by Raina Kent, the Reign of a King book in the Rise of a Queen series. Rise of a Queen book, which is the second book in the series. And so, I don't remember half of the stuff that went on. I liked it. Was it be my favorite thing? No. Shanora Williams' temporary boyfriend. Short, 150 pages, read in 1 sitting. No. I normally love Shanora's books, but this one, what was this? What was it? It was no plot. There was a plot, but it just wasn't, there was no oomph. Okay, no oomph. Dear Live, I Hate You, Elijah Greenwood. The Easton Boys series, this is the first book in the series, gave this book 3 stars. Honestly, it took me so long to get this book done. I didn't love it. I liked the premise. The premise was good. It was promising, but I quit reading it halfway through, and then I had to force myself to read it again, so it wasn't okay. The Fall-Up by Ali Maitinez. Give that one 4 stars. I liked it. It's between a celebrity and her experiencing like anxiety, depression, and there's this guy who's also like experiencing some stuff. So they meet at a bridge because she was about to jump off, and he makes her come down, and they eventually have to keep meeting there, and then eventually he tells her, okay, promise me something, promise me you'll never come back to this bridge. And she eventually is just like, okay, because they're like, you can tell they like each other, but they're not like in your face about it. So they go and hang out. Like, eventually he ends up tracking her down, and it's just like, hey, I'm the guy from the bridge, I wanted to talk to you. And she's just like, okay. So they start hanging out, and like literally it's so cute. Next book, you're probably gonna know what this is and why I love it so much, but It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is not a romance story by any means. Don't call it one. It is very sad. It is not a romance book by any means. There is kind of some elements, but that would be in the past flashbacks, because it like switches from past to present. Present is definitely worse, and when you read it back, it's kind of like, oh. But literally, Lily is like a little girl. She was abused by her father as a little girl, right. So we come back to the present. She meets this guy named Ryle, and he ends up being like this, oh, he's perfect. He was a surgeon, or was it his brother that was a surgeon? I don't know. But he ends up, like, they start, like, flirting with each other, hanging out, and then eventually he meets him again because eventually the friend, her coworker, she fell, I think, and her coworker was like, okay, I'm gonna call for help. So she had her boyfriend and his friend come over, and apparently that friend was Ryle. So he is like really arrogant, but Ryle is like has a complete aversion to relationships, right? So eventually they start like flirting with each other, they start going on dates, and eventually she remembers like her past relationship with Atlas Corrigan. Oh my god, love Alice. Alice. Where did Alice come from? Atlas Corrigan. Atlas is like her first love when she was little. Well, not little, let's not play this. She was like 14, I think. I want to say 13 or 14 when she met this dude. He was like homeless, and she gave him like food, and then he would come stay at her house when her parents weren't home so he could like shower quickly. And eventually they start loving each other. And she lost her virginity to him, I think. But they haven't seen each other in years. She dates Ryle, and he turns out to be an abusive motherfucker, right? Ryle turns out to be an abusive motherfucker. And manipulating, gaslighting, the whole thing. And it just gets worse when Atlas comes back into her life. And it's just hectic. Let me tell you, hectic. Okay, so the next one. Okay. One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Hang on. This is definitely a sci-fi romance. Has stuff to do with time travel between... Hang on. Yeah, New York City, time travel. She waits tables, and then she's, like, moving in with roommates to, like, get by. She uses the subway, but then she meets this girl, Jane, and she's mysterious, is not, like, her, like, it's not, like, August's time at all. She's very old town. She's very old. She's not old. She's like 24, but she's very like old townish, and she wears like this leather jacket. But now every time they see each other, they're on the subway, right, and they're on the subway, and eventually they start talking all the time, and then eventually Jane tells her. Well, not really tells her, but August figures out that she's time traveling between the 1970s. Yeah, the 1970s, and eventually they're trying to figure out a way to get her back home where she needs to be, but eventually it's like, well, how do we get her back home, right? So they try all these tests, the friends help that she's living with, and Jane can't get off the train. So, like, literally, she can't remember anything that happens in between when she meets August. Or outside of August. She can't remember anything outside of August. Okay. So eventually they just start working together. And they both like each other. They make out, they kiss on the train, and it's, like, so cute. Unteachable. I think I have that here, don't I? Yes, Unteachable. Student-teacher relationship. College student-teacher relationship. I loved it. So Evan and Maze, they meet at a carnival. They ended up having time in his truck. And they didn't know, but the next day, or not the next day, a week later, she shows up to the university in his class, and they ended up being there, and they're like, oh, well, you're the guy from the carnival. Oh, we slept with each other. Oh, shit. So eventually it's just like, And like, it's her film class, but they're like, they actually love each other, and eventually the attraction is like too much to resist. So they come back and they're like, hey, okay, let's try this again. We won't leave this time. We won't struggle. We will actually talk. But eventually they get caught. So they risk a lot of things there. It's just hectic, but I loved it. I gave that one like 4 stars. Serious Moonlight by Jen Bennett. Could not do it. I struggled to read it. It was like a mystery one too. I struggle with mystery. I just didn't like it.